Hi everyone, it's Agnes having a casual chat to Jaclyn today. Jaclyn has kindly said she would come on to share some of her success story, which many of you have already heard. I'm actually going to post her success story down below for those of you that don't know which success story it is, so you can revisit it. But welcome, Jaclyn, and thanks for coming to talk to us today.
Hi, I'm super excited to be here. I actually, when I first wrote you, I couldn't wait to tell you my success story. So this is almost like a small little dream come true to be able to share this with you and all of your listeners.
Oh, lovely, lovely. I think it's so exciting when, like what you did, you applied everything and then you got a result and then you got to see that it isn't just a fluke and you got to see that it is conscious and you're doing certain things and then you get a certain result. And I just feel really excited for you because you actually not only understood the stuff, but you applied it and then you got to be with your specific person, which is such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yes, it is. I mean, I didn't really understand everything. It was a learning process, and it wasn't instant. And sometimes there's comments from folks, and they're like, well, if you would have just done this sooner, then maybe you would have gotten him faster. But I don't believe that at all, because for me, this journey was difficult, and I feel like it wasn't a fast amount of time. I mean, we went from, I was living with him because I kind of forced my way in,
Yeah.
but he wasn't ready. And then, to a week later, he came to my house to pick up our dog. I had watched him while he was gone over a weekend trip, and he showed up to break up with me. And I was devastated, and I begged him, and I say begged, but I was just more like, hey, like, really think this over. Are you sure we have a life together? We're starting a life. And then I could tell, like, I looked at him and he was terrified, and I had never seen him look at me that way. And so it was very hard to stomach and accept the the pushback I was feeling from him. And I didn't recognize this person sitting next to me, telling me he did not love me anymore, because we had been in love literally from the day we met. And to go from that, where I begged him to just think it over, take 5 days, think it through, and in that 5 days, he realized he did want the separation. And it was after that that I really worked on myself. I thought, you know what? I am not going to beg him back. I'm going to be, the woman that he fell in love with, happy, secure, and free. And I didn't realize even then the layers of, I want to say, growth that I needed to go through. It was piece by piece by piece, and that's probably why it didn't happen as fast as what other people seem. Like, I summarize my story, and it sounds like, oh, well, you got from here to here to here. But there were many nights where I cried, and I laid there and I thought, I have to get him back. How do I do this? How do I fix me? And then as events would come about, it's little things. Like, I had something very special planned for his birthday, and then he was spending it with these friends that they hadn't always been super supportive of our relationship, because before me, he was available for them all the time. And then when we got together, he voluntarily wanted to spend his time with me. So it created kind of like this, well, you don't have time for us dynamic, which I made it worse by my focusing on it and my feelings and my projections, which you and I had a conversation about that too. Like, don't focus on projecting, well, they don't like me. Like, I changed my perception to they're supportive and that it's going to be fine. And so him spending his birthday with them, that was hard. Like, that broke my heart, because I had like this very romantic birthday thing planned for him. And that was a growth moment. That night was hard. I'm not gonna lie. I did so many self-love meditations that night. because it hurt and it was sad, but there was just growth after that. Like I look back at little milestones and it just got better. And there were times where we would have tons of progress, and then we would have times that, you know, it wasn't the same progress. And I was like, okay, what am I doing wrong now? And it wasn't that there was anything wrong. It's just that at that time I needed to kind of focus inward and not focus so much on him and what he was doing, but still work on me. Sorry if I'm talking so fast.
No. Keep going. It's good. It's good to hear the natural flow of it. So, keep going.
Go ahead. Well, I also had trust issues because I came from a very abusive marriage before this, and I had been divorced about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And when I met my person, and at that time, I was incredibly, what I felt like was secure. But I didn't realize I had all these old wounds that still needed to be healed. And I will tell you that I had this belief that if I met the right man, that would all melt away. And that is not true. And if anybody believes that, like, another person cannot fix what's going on inside of you, they can't.
Yeah.
It has to be you. And while I was good, and I was in a very good place, I was not in a place that was healthy completely. And so I literally, like, as our love grew, it opened that wound even more. And it's almost like I was expecting it to just go away, and it never did. And I'm telling you, I had him tell every single day. He was like, "Good morning, beautiful." I woke up to a text message every day. He would tell me I'm the love of his life and I'm the most gorgeous person ever. He loved my body. He was so supportive, told me he's proud of me. But none of these things mattered or made a difference until I fixed me, because even with that, my insecurities were still there. They were just bubbling under the surface. So it was
before the breakup you're talking about.
Yes, this was before the breakup, because I mean we spent 9 months together before we broke up.
Yeah.
And it just got worse. It was awful. It was, I mean, I look back now at how bratty I became because I was insecure, and he did everything in the world to try to tell me, you know, that he was who he was with. He did it out of just honesty, like, hey, I'm with these people, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But it didn't matter because it was like a high, like a tiny little burst of a high, like I felt good, but then the insecurities took over, and then I was back to where I started, and it never lasted. And so it was like a drug. Like I would get this high from being told, "You're beautiful, you're gorgeous," but then when it was gone, I was empty. And I didn't love myself. And so when we broke up, it really amplified that. And it wasn't until I really started to love myself and realize, you know, after listening to you, that I got to be okay when he's not messaging me. I have to trust it when he's not. I have to be okay when I'm not being told that I'm gorgeous, because it didn't even matter when he did. It didn't fix it. It was like a temporary Band-Aid. And so, you know, people wanting to hear from their person, it's amazing now when he tells me, because I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, I love myself. I'm like, like, I know I'm funny. I know that you love my energy. Like, I know these things now. And so it just builds my confidence more, but it's not like I have to hear it in order to feel good. I feel good all by myself.
And you did that through self-love. Like what daily stuff did you do to get to that place?
Well, self-love, meditation. Sometimes even during my lunch break, I would go and listen to like self-love meditations of yours. The projections, I would do the projections, but sometimes it still felt like I didn't believe it. And that's when I knew I had to go back to self-love, like multiple times a day, sometimes 4 times a day.
Yeah. Wow.
As soon as I got up in the morning and I was brushing my teeth and I'm getting ready for work, I would just stand in front of my mirror and say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, beating it into my head, really. Then on my drive to work, I would listen to this rampage that Abraham Hicks has, and it's just like, today is a great day, today is a new beginning, and it's about 9 minutes long, so it was perfect for my drive to work.
Yeah.
And that was my routine. I mean, I had to fight every day to get myself into a happier place, and go to work and not let it affect my job.
Yeah.
I work in payroll, so I have, like, I'm dealing with people's money. I'm dealing with all
Yeah.
kinds of things that's very, very, very sensitive, and I could not let myself be affected by this outside that was affecting me emotionally. So I knew I had to get to a really good place, and I did it every day. Every morning I woke up, I listened to that rampage. I listened to you. I would listen to whatever you had posted for that day. That just became my routine. I would be at my desk, and if I wasn't taking a lot of calls, I would have one, earbud in, listening to you, even listening to Dan, like listening to your old videos, talking about what to do with a third party, because you warned me in my email. You were like, Jaclyn, don't create it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have one. Don't create one.
Yeah.
And so that was really kind of like I want to say a wake up call for me, because you told me, you don't have a third party. Don't create one. By focusing on it. And granted, he told me this fall, after we had gone on our trip together, that and it was happening very fast. So kind of to jump forward a little bit, like, we started talking, we broke up the second week in June, and then by the end of June, kind of beginning of July, he was messaging me a little bit more, but it was very casual. Toward the end of July, was when he found out his tumor had come back, and I got a text message on my way to work that said, "I'm at the doctor's office, don't cry," because he knows I'm a sap, I'm a crier.
Yeah.
So like, he knew that I would be heartbroken, because we'd already gone through that together before in December. So he tells me that, and I called him, and we're talking in the doctor's office, and he's telling me it came back. He has to have it removed again. And I mean, I was devastated, because this time I was still thinking selfishly, like, well, I can't be there for you. Like, what am I going to do? Like, instead of being like, oh my gosh, this is you and your leg again, it was like, I was sad for me, and I knew that was not right.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a normal, healthy response. And then, he had the surgery, and we had been making plans before the surgery, like, we're going to go for a hike together, just to try to hang out before you have another surgery again. And then he messaged me and was like, sorry, it's tomorrow, I just got a call. And I asked him if he wanted me to be there, and he said that he had a lot of family actually going to be there this time for this one, and he would let me know when it was over. And I did your self-love meditations probably like 3 times that day, because I couldn't be there, and it wasn't right for me to feel lonely because I couldn't be there for his surgery. I just wanted him to be okay.
Yeah.
But I realized that one thing I do is, it makes me feel so good to give love to other people, that if I can't, it'll make me feel bad a little bit. And that's not right either. Like, it just needs to radiate out regardless of whether someone can even receive it or not,
Yeah.
And because that's still trying to get something, even though
Yes.
you're giving, you're still trying to get it. So twisted.
I know, but what a great insight. What a great insight, because I've had those moments in my relationships too, and I thought, what is wrong with me that I'm thinking about me right now? Like, you just feel like smacking yourself.
Yes, and that's how I felt. I just was like, this is not right, because I'm sad because I can't be there at the hospital for him, and I'm worried about me. Like, that is not, this is not okay. So, I did have a lot of support from friends, and they were like, you just need to be strong right now, because, I had 2 friends that were really, really, really great, and they were just like, love yourself through this, because, you know, he'll talk to you when he gets out. And he did. He messaged me up until the moment that he went into surgery. And then it was an outpatient thing, so he ended up coming home pretty quickly. And that was when, on the way home, I had been thinking, like, you know what? I don't even care if he's been with another person at this point. Like, doesn't matter. I do not care. And it just, I let it go. I let go of the control and wondering, has he dated someone else? Has he slept with another person? Because those tormenting thoughts are so poisonous, and they're so bad. And it's so funny, because on the way home from his surgery, I made a joke about, well, I know I'm still your favorite, because he used to say, how is my favorite person doing today? And I made a joke about it. And he said, well, of course you're still my favorite. It's not like I've been with another person besides you. And I kind of looked at my phone like, what? I didn't ask for this information.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. And it was literally in the same day that I let go of caring. I just wanted him to feel better. That's all I wanted in the whole world. And I wanted the surgery to go good, because the first one was pretty rough. And so even with that, literally on his way home, and I know he was on pain meds, so like, I get it. He was probably a little more relaxed than what he would normally be. But he wanted to let me know that he hadn't been with anyone else. No one else had stayed the night at his house. He hadn't kissed another person. He hadn't slept with another person. And those tormenting thoughts of, like, physical intimacy with someone else is really what destroys, I think, a lot of people, because that's where your mind goes, is being replaced physically too. And it's hard. And so, like, once I let go of that, he literally just came to me and was like, oh, nope, I haven't been with anybody. And I just kind of almost dropped my phone.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Like, what? Is this a trick?
Yeah. That's fantastic that you got offered that information just like that.
Yes. When you let go, I feel like that's when the information comes to you, because there's been so many times that I asked for something, but I did not receive it, really. I was like, well, I don't know if I'll get my answer, you know, whenever the universe feels like bringing it to me is whenever. And then I would literally, because I did the whispering technique a lot, and I would say, you know, tell Jaclyn you love her, or tell her you miss her. And he never said those things. So I was like, well, we're just going back to self-love, because these are not working for me. But then I looked back and I realized him telling me, it wasn't like I did the whispering technique for him to tell me that he did not, you know, he wasn't with another person. But it was, I had thought that I wanted him to say that. Even though I didn't do it through that method specifically, it's still the same intent. And it was still the same. I visualized him telling me that, and I forgot about it. When I didn't care anymore, that's when he told me.
Wow.
So it's pretty brilliant.
Isn't it? So you imagined it like as an imaginal scene, or hearing his voice, or?
Yes. I would just kind of play out conversations in my head. I would think about just sitting down and talking with him and what I would want to hear. And, you know, I visualized telling him, I don't care that you've been with anybody. I do not care. I planned on telling him that if we went hiking. I wanted to be like, hey, guess what? I don't care. I'm not jealous. I'm not insecure. It doesn't matter. I'm here for you. And then it happened. And so I would just play out these, like an impress, like you said. I would play the conversation over and over and over in my head. And that's how it happened. So the whispering technique, I feel it works. It absolutely works. You just need to do it probably several times. Sometimes it's within once. If you really believe and let go, I think it'll happen pretty fast. But other times, if it's something harder to kind of wrap your mind around, hearing it, you know, believing that it's going to happen, you may need to do it a few more times and play that out in your head. And it doesn't always have to be you know, a 9 or 10 minute thing. You can do it if you just have a quiet moment.
Yeah.
You can sit down and you can run that conversation through your head, end it on a positive note, end it feeling good, and
Yeah.
then let it go.
And then,
And then you just like, yes.
yeah, beautiful. I love how
Oh,
you got your answers like when you didn't expect it or when you'd let it go. Like you can see I really made a decision to let it go, and then I got that, and it was like, what? Like I love how that happens, because letting go and surrender is such a big component in things
yes,
coming to you, because you let go of the control mentally.
yes.
Mm.
That's your surrender meditation. You did that is a meditation for surrender and activity, and it's about, I think it's your 17-minute long one. You did it for 2 people that emailed you on the same day, and then you did that one for them. That was so powerful for me because I didn't really understand the concept of letting go, because I thought, well, I don't want to let go. I don't want to
Yeah.
give up. But I didn't realize it's letting go of being the action figure, like trying to manipulate situations, manipulate conversations. You shouldn't have to feel like, well, I'm going to say this and trick them into answering this way.
Yeah.
Because that does not work.
No.
Don't do it. Like
No.
you're going to set yourself up, and then you're going to feel bad, and then it's not good. So it was a big deal to understand, you know, what you said about the action figure thing. Like don't try to manipulate. Do
Mm.
not. You
Mm.
are not, you know, I would send him like silly photos just because that's just my personality. I would be out for a run and I would be like super sweaty, but I would make like a face and I would be like, you know, just something very silly and send it to him, and he would laugh, but then he wouldn't say anything else. And I was like, oh man, what does it take? What does it take to get a response?
Yeah.
He would leave me on red, like for days, 3 days at a time. I would
Yeah.
literally just sit there and I would look at my phone and be so mad in the beginning of our breakup because he wouldn't respond, and he had never done that before. So when you go from talking to someone all
Mm.
day long to not, and it's cold turkey, that's hard. And that's when you have to look internally, because
Yeah.
it's hard. The tightness in your chest, the anxiety,
Yeah.
it's hard, and you've got to love yourself through it. Even though you may not believe it the first few times you do self-love, you just keep doing it. You
Mm.
keep doing it.
Yeah.
You've got to love yourself through it, because obviously you're not getting it from them in that moment, because they have decided to go on their own journey for a little while. And you have to love yourself through it, because you are the only one loving yourself in that moment.
Mm.
And that's how you feel better, because you know, I love me, so nothing else really matters, like how the rest of my day goes, because I love me and I'm happy with me, and I trust myself, I trust my judgment, and I trust that I am sticking to this journey and it's going to work out. And you have to believe that even though there's hiccups, there's contrast, as Abraham Hicks calls it.
Mm.
There are things that are not going to be perfect, that are going to
Yeah.
come up. Like I told you that I actually had a friend message me, well, guess what? Looks like he's back on Tinder, the dating site. And it was 2 weeks after we broke up.
Yeah.
And I was devastated, because
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like, did I mean nothing to you? And I messaged him. I mean, because we've always been able to call each other out on stuff. So I messaged him and I said, so are you back on Tinder?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, you know, I realized that I wasn't ready. He said, I got back on there, and like he said, a couple of people messaged me, and he said, I realized I'm not ready. Because I said, did it mean that little to you? Because that's what it felt like. Did it mean that little to you that you're able to just move on? And he said, I realized I can't. And even though everything in my head screamed, what? That's a lie. Like how do I know you're not just telling me that to make me feel better? I
Yeah.
believed him. I chose in that moment to believe him that he loved me enough, and it hit him that he
Mm.
was not ready. And I held on to that belief the rest of the summer. And then I got
Wow.
confirmation at the end of the summertime, because that's one of those pivotal moments where you can go either way. You can go the anxiety, tormenting thoughts of, oh, he's lying, he's not telling me the truth, I know there's other women. Or you can go, you know what? Okay, I believe you. I trust you. And it's a step, and it's hard, and it's scary.
Yeah.
But when you make that choice, it's almost like your thoughts begin to change after that, because you make the choice to trust. You make the choice that it's a happier choice. It's a peaceful choice.
Mm-mm.
Your thoughts begin to build toward that happier feeling and that happier outcome, rather than going the bad path. Like you said, the ball bouncing down the stairs. Like, you catch it on that first or second, third step, and you go, nope, we're going to go this way with it. And you don't have that spiraling out of control. You don't have that just that pit feeling, like it's just dragging you down with every thought. It just gets worse and worse. There's always like a pivotal moment of where you're like, I can go either way with this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to choose this way. It's hard. It's hard. It's easier to go down that scary, the bad feeling path. That's the easier way to go.
It is,
but
it's so old and habitual, isn't it?
Yes. And those habitual negative thought patterns, that phrase of yours stands out to me so much, because I didn't realize how bad those thoughts were. And once I got a control of my thoughts, I want to say it wasn't even 100%, definitely not, but maybe 65% of my thoughts I got control of. And once I did, everything changed. And it wasn't even
that it wasn't 100%, because I think a lot of people think they have to do 100%. You don't have to. It's not humanly possible. That's why people give up.
No. No, it is not. And I heard a video of yours, like you and Dan were talking, and you talked about 51%. And I thought, I can do 51%, and I can do better than 51%, because it's really more than that. But I sure as heck can't do 100% right now. Like, that's impossible. So let's just start small. And once I realized I got control of my thoughts for well over 50% of the day, I started to feel better. And then I was grateful for that. And so I would make that part of my gratitude list. So like when I said that I would say my gratitude list, like if I was driving to work and I didn't have time to sit and write it down in the morning, because I do like to sleep. So sometimes I'm getting ready for work like really fast. I would say it out loud. I would even just say, I am grateful for the fact that my bills are paid. I am grateful for the fact that I have a loving and supportive family. And I would just say these things out loud. I'm grateful that I have a solid job to go to. I'm grateful that I have job security. I'm grateful that I have coworkers that I love. And that would instantly raise my vibration, because sometimes I would start out sad, and I would have to be like, well, I'm gonna list what I'm grateful for. And that was my go-to, I'm in a lower place, I've got to fix it, was the grateful list. That, I'm telling you, every single time, that's how I pulled myself out. Then I would go to a meditation of yours, like self-love, and I would start to feel better. And after that, I would even say my grateful list again. And it would help pull me out of that place, because when you're grateful, there's no way you can be sad. Like, sometimes I had to list 20, 30 things, depending on how bad I was feeling, but I would get myself out of that negative place by saying what I was grateful for, and it worked every single time.
Brilliant. It's always the simple things, hey? But it's doing them. And like you said, I didn't just do it once. I did it again after I did a meditation, because you can slide so quickly when you've had a situation with a specific person it can cause you a lot of pain if you think about it. So you have to find distracting things to do. It is just, which things are you going to pick? And doing the I love myself in the mirror too, I really liked that you did that, because that's so simple too. Simple.
I would replay it almost like a broken record. And I started to do this mental focus thing of, if I started to feel a negative thought, and then sometimes it took me getting to the second negative thought in a row before I would catch it. And then I would say, cancel, cancel, cancel to myself.
Yeah.
And then I would say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. And I would almost put it on repeat, like a skipping broken record or CD, just saying it over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Until I drowned out the other thought, because you can't change your thought. Like, you can't erase that. You just have to put your energy somewhere else. And I have a very good friend that actually was going through this similar situation, and I said, okay, this is how you do it, because she said, I can't get out of this. And I said, this is what I do. I visualize, if you're standing there and you're facing two small little fires, and you have a bucket of fuel, and one is the negative and one is the positive. Now, the negative fire, it's burning a little bit brighter. It's burning a little bit more. So, well, yeah, you can make that fire bigger, easier by pouring the fuel to that one, because it's already going. But what you don't understand is, the more you fuel the negative, the more that happier, positive fire is going to burn down, because that's not where the energy is. That's not where the love is. So you have to understand that this other one may be a little bit harder to get going. It may be harder to get started, but it's the better one. So you need to pour your energy and the fuel onto the one that's a little bit harder to understand at first and a little bit harder to get going. But it's so worth it. When it gets bigger, that negative fire burns out. Like, it gets smaller. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
It's good. It's good, because it's very visual.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is. Oh gosh, Anya, it's so hard.
I know.
It's so hard. And I know my story sounds like a fairy tale, and it is, but it took me, I didn't elaborate in my message to you about the three things that I carried with me. Whenever I was 16, I had one of my very first boyfriends in school. I was an athlete, so I stayed extremely busy. I didn't date a lot of folks. And I went to a very small school. I had like 22 people in my senior class. So I had a very, very small school. Yeah. So everybody knew each other. I had cousins and friends that their parents had gone to school with my parents. Very tight-knit community. And my boyfriend and I had split up. We'd been together about 6 months. So for high school, that's a long time. And we just grew apart, but we were best friends. I mean, we would go shopping together, go hang out together. I'd go to I would give him a ride home from baseball practice. Like, I mean, we just were best friends, even though we broke up. Well, he had a considerable amount of money, and my cousin and my very good friend, when he and I had split up, they went after him, and they told him a bunch of things that were not true. And I found this out from him through an email back when AOL Instant Messenger and all of that was popular. Yeah. So he's like online, and he's messaging me, and he's like, I can't believe you. And I am panicked. I mean, I got in my car, I drove across town, and I got to his house, and I was like, we're going to talk this out. Like, what are you doing? Like, why? And he wouldn't answer the phone on the way there. He hung up on me. When I got to his house, he wouldn't answer the door. And I mean, this was my best friend. So I didn't understand why he was doing this. And being 16, you're incredibly irrational. So I realized that two things, I carried that with me. And I'm 30 now. So that was 14 years ago. The panic of him not answering the phone or the door. And when he finally did, he screamed at me because he was just convinced that I'd done these horrible things. I had not. I was carrying that forward to when my person didn't reply. I got anxiety. Yeah. Didn't matter that my person was honest. I mean, he's he is such an honest. I know where he is. He's in the military. He works on a base. So like, he goes to work. I know where he's at. Like, he was always honest about what he was doing. But I still didn't trust him. And I once I realized that it came from my childhood, and I had carried that forward, that was big deal number one. Number two was the female friends. I told you I didn't trust this female friend of his because she did have feelings for him, granted. But they ended in high school as well. But she had carried this torch for him for like 12 years. Yeah. And she just couldn't let it go. So that was a problem for me. But I had a lack of trust for female friends because my own cousin and very good friend went behind my back to my boyfriend to try to date him after we broke up. And so I had this distrust of female friends from high school. Yeah. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get past it until we actually got to the point of, okay, so that's why I do this. And then I just let it go. It was brilliant. It was just amazing how I just let it go. Third thing
how did you let it go, Jaclyn? Because I know a lot of people get stuck on this stuff and they just want
to let it go.
Yeah. How did you made a decision, but how did you actually?
I did it. Once I realized that it came from a particular event in my past, it clicked that this was not my now. This was my person had done nothing to replicate what had happened in the past. And so once I disassociated it, because I literally had to cut the tie, because I had brought that with me for 14 years. Yes. And once I cut that tie and I realized my person has never done anything like that to me. Yes. It was not him. It was me. I brought it with me. I put that on him. I made him wear this mask of a person that he had never been. Yes. And like that friend of yours that she said, like, I wrote an unlovely script and made you play it. That's exactly what I did. I had this vision in my head that he was going to do these things, that these female friends couldn't be trusted. He wasn't going to stand up for me because my friend had not. Yes. He had not. So I put that on my person, and that was never the case for him, ever. And once I realized, oh my gosh, I have literally put you in a place of something you have never even done. Wow. I immediately, it was like a light bulb, and I felt release, like in my chest, like just the anxiety, the pain of that was just gone. And it was almost like I couldn't believe it for a minute. Oh my gosh, this feels really great. Like, how does this feel really great? I don't even understand. Wow. Oh my gosh, I figured it out, because it's almost like you unlock it. Yes. Yes. In your brain. And then your higher self is like, that's it. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Yeah. Like, all this time. And so it was all in one day that these realizations happened, which was a lot to understand and kind of take in. Yeah. Because even the third one, with my ex-husband cheating on me so much, I would come home and there were women's articles of things like a sock, an earring, a hair tie, a bobby pin, just random things like the bed wouldn't be made and I had made it before I went to work. And it was tons of little things like that. And so I got to be a detective. Yes. Every time I came home, I was Sherlock Holmes on the case, looking through my house. No, I was like, anything that was out of place. I was like, oh, that on the counter was moved. Why was that moved? You know, you become so paranoid. Yeah. And it eats you up. And so, Michael, I'm sitting there and I'm coming to his house. Bless him. He has tons of people over all the time. Like, there's just always people there. But if anything was out of place, why is this moved? And I was looking. I would walk in the door and just be scanning and looking. And I know he saw it. I know he saw it on my face because I was just looking for anything I could find. Yeah. And once I let that go and I realized if I trust him and I say I trust him,
Yeah.
then I trust him that no one has been over.
Yeah.
And if he's telling me no one has been over and stayed the night, I gotta quit looking for crap,
Yeah.
because all I'm doing is bringing manifestations into my life that were never even there.
Yes.
And if I say I trust this man, then I have to trust him, and I have to quit looking.
Yes.
Stop it. Stop being creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. Did he know why you were looking?
I had told him, we were very open about our pasts when we got together. He knew I had been in a physically and emotionally abusive relationship before him.
Yeah.
And he knew. I told him that because the friend that was in love with him, she would plant things so I would see them. If we were gone together, I would come home and she would find stuff at his house. Like, or she would leave things for me to find. Yes.
Wow, that's nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I manifested a lot of that with my insecurities because I focused on her so much.
Yeah.
And that you will do that. Like, honestly, if you don't knock it off and stop with focusing on what if she does this, what if she does that, you have to let that go and not think about it, because if you do, then you're going to find something and then you're going to be like, well, I knew it. Well, no, you didn't necessarily know that she was going to do it. You made it happen.
Exactly. And people think that I knew that was going to happen and see, I was right. It's like, no, it's not like that. It's you put out, I knew it was going to happen, and then you created it. It's created by you. But people think it's just happening out there independent of them. It's not.
No.
Yeah. Wow.
No.
So you stopped doing that as well.
Yep.
Wow.
I did all in one day, actually. All in one day. And I had just really done some self-love meditations, and I had just kept telling myself, I trust him. And if I trust him, then I trust him fully.
Yeah. And this is in between you guys getting back together?
Yeah, this was actually about month and a half, 2 months ago, maybe.
Okay, so not that long ago.
No, not really. Because while things were happening, so we broke up in June. By the end of July, we were talking more. Mid-August, he had his surgery again, and we were talking consistently. I want to say daily at that point through messages. The day after his surgery, he asked me to come over so I could see him. And like I said, I went over there with no expectations of him even hugging me, really. I just wanted to help him around the house because, get him ice packs for the swelling and just clean his house. I did his laundry because, he couldn't do it. And, I walked in and he held me and he just hugged me, and I was sitting there with my eyes probably bugging out of my head like, what is happening? Because I didn't expect it, and so my heart was racing, and I was just like, oh my gosh, is this for real right now? Is this for real right now? Wow. Even when you want it to happen, and then it finally does, that doesn't mean it won't surprise you.
No, but I think too, it sounds like, how you were saying that when he told you he was going to go in for surgery and you realized that it was still all about you, it sounds like when you got to this point where you were cleaning up his house and doing his laundry, you were actually really there to really give to him.
I was. I shifted
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like getting everything I wanted, and I'm like, hold on, why am I getting everything I wanted?
That is honestly, you have got the most incredible moments of insight into yourself. It's like incredible.
Well, thank you.
When you've done things for years, it is so, people go, oh no, I'm not being selfish. I really love them. But behind all that, there's, I want them to love me. I want them to love me. I need them to love me. I need them to love me. But being honest with yourself about that is very hard to see. Because you convince yourself that you really are loving, but really you're needy and you're wanting to get still. And it's such a fine line of lying to yourself in your own brain about that very thing. And you actually learned all that whole thing that you learned in one day. I mean, that day must be such a milestone in your...
Oh, yeah.
like, I've never heard of anyone doing that in one day. I'll be honest. I've never heard that amount of insight hitting you in one day. That's phenomenal.
I mean, I cried a lot.
Yeah.
I cried a lot from the release.
Yeah.
And it was like a puzzle. Like I just, like when you find one piece that goes and then another and then another, and you're like, I'm making all this progress.
Yeah.
It was literally like that, because once I unlocked one thing from my past, because I had originally done the Lefko method that you suggested, the childhood, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I sat there and I was like, I don't have crap from my childhood. Like I was loved by my parents.
Yeah.
I did have a great childhood. I'm an only child, but I grew up on a very large farm. I had to work as a child. I had love from my family. My parents supported me in sports, and I know I was an only child, but I wasn't spoiled in the way that people think an only child would be spoiled. But I did have consistent love for my mom and dad and all of my family around me. I had great friends. I loved high school. I loved my life. I had a great life growing up. So when I listened to that, I thought, I don't have anything. This is terrible. I'm trying to get something out of it, and some of it made sense. I'm not going to say that it didn't, but at that time I was not ready to accept an event, because I thought, well, it didn't come from my parents, so I don't have anything from my childhood that's a problem. And then the more self-love you do, it's like it unlocks things within you.
Yeah.
And because you love yourself, you don't have those tendencies to think in the way that you used to, because it doesn't feel good to think that way anymore.
Yes.
And it doesn't feel good to go down that path. And so you're like, ugh. And you tend to cut out people who are not good for you.
Yeah.
You pull away because you recognize that it doesn't feel good to be around them, and they bring you down. And I've started shutting myself off even more. Like today, I'm taking a road trip for myself.
Yeah.
And my person, he's doing something on his own today, something he had planned with some of his friends from another state. And we've been in touch. He told me to have a great time. He knows I'll send him thousands of pictures.
Yeah.
But, being secure to do my own thing today.
Yeah.
And doing it because I love road trips.
Yes.
and I love this place I'm going to. I went to college here for a little while, and it's amazing hiking. And for Oklahoma, it's 61 degrees today, and it's going to be about that where I'm going. So it's going to be fabulous weather. It's perfect for hiking, and I'm a photographer, so I've got my stuff with me, and I'm jamming out. I'm singing loud. I'm at the top of my lungs. So I'm so happy. And I know that he feels that happiness when I send him pictures and he sees me having fun.
Yeah.
That was one thing he told me, was whenever we broke up, he said, you stopped doing what you loved. He said, you haven't booked any photography sessions. You haven't ridden your horse. What are you doing? And I mean, I grew up riding from the time I was 2 until now. And I've competed jumping and Western events. Riding horses are my life. And I stopped doing those things. And so he said, that was a turnoff for him.
Yeah.
He felt like he could not ask for a weekend alone at his house.
Yeah.
And that broke my heart.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna cry, but it hurt me, because I thought, how could I be so cruel?
Yeah, and he's right. He saw it and he was right. Yeah, and a lot of women do that, Jaclyn. Women in particular let their lives go.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do.
What great information from him, even though it was hard to hear.
It hurt.
Great information to then go, okay, I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it hurts to be told the truth sometimes, but I've always been one of those people, tell me if I'm on the wrong path. You got to swallow that, and you got to be like, okay, well, how do I make a change?
Yeah.
Sometimes people are rude, sometimes people are wrong, but you know, this journey, I was open to constructive criticism because nothing was working for me. And the love of my life, what people would probably even say as twin flame, that person that you meet and you're just like, where have you been my whole life? We get along on everything in the entire world except for the fact that I love avocados and he hates them. He doesn't like guacamole. And like and I'm a morning person and he's a night owl. I'm telling you, that's where it ends. Like, we are road trip loving, animal loving. We both have made the choice to be child free.
Yeah.
And there's health reasons along with that as well. But I mean, that alone,
yeah,
you know, those similarities, religion, faith, things like that, those are big deals too. Politics, we agree on. And so it just was like, when we met, we literally got out of the car and we stood there and we stared at each other, just kind of grinning, like, is this real? Or do I know you? Because it felt that real. So to go from that surreal moment of, I've been looking for you my whole life, and oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And we both felt the same way the whole time. It wasn't one person more in love than the other.
Yeah.
It was, we were the same the whole time. From that to, I don't feel the same way. And I'm not in love with you anymore.
Yeah.
My world was shattered. And I knew that I had to do something within me, because he said, it's not you. You didn't do anything. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Because I pushed you away. And
Yeah.
and the more I thought about him leaving me, I'm telling you, every day he told me he loved me. He told me I was beautiful, and it did not matter because I didn't love myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It did not matter. And I pushed him away because I focused on him leaving me, and I literally was at work and I got like a flash of a thought. Like, this is why thought transmission's real. I was sitting at my desk and I got a thought of, he's going to break up with me. Wow. And I was like, what? That is so weird. Like, ew, get that thought out. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And 4 days later he did.
Wow.
And it's powerful what you think. And if you're thinking about your person and all you're thinking about is how they're upsetting you and how you're mad, they're going to feel that energy of, when they think, they don't necessarily know it's coming from you.
No.
But they get a thought of you, and the energy associated with that thought of you is not good. So that's how that works. And it's important to watch your thoughts. And if you can't think happy thoughts about your person, think about something else that makes you happy, because don't put that out there. Like, don't. Yeah. It's not worth it. It's really not.
Well, it's like it's alive. Thoughts are alive. They go out and they do stuff. They're not just sort of thoughts that run through your head and no one hears them. They go out and they get photocopied into an experience. And until we understand that, you feel like you're at the mercy of stuff happening on the outside, and yet everything is being created by you every second of the day. I loved your thing about the bonfires. I think that is such a great visual explanation of that. Your friend's right. That was very clever, the way you explained that to her, because it's explaining it in a way that because people keep saying, how do I stop doing that? It's not you stop doing that. You just go over here and then that just stops. It's not you go, I got to stop doing that. I got to stop doing that. I got to stop thinking that. You have to deflect and divert your mind away. Your head will never stop doing it. It will never stop. It is relentless in doing things. And I so agree with you about, you got to distract away and you got to find something else to think about, because that is the way to stop that fire and for it to die off. That's the only way. You got to stop thinking that has never worked, and that's why people go nuts trying to do it that way, because it is ineffective.
Oh yeah. I mean, it feels unnatural. It's a battle within yourself to just be like, well, I'm going to not think about that. Well, what do you do when you tell somebody to not think about something, to think about it more?
Yeah. So and then it's mentally, you get so exhausted from trying to do it that way. Your brain gets exhausted, and then you emotionally blow a gasket because it's too hard. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you explained that to people, because that is such a great distinction of how to get out of that state of being, that negative, repetitive, habitual thoughts, because that is the thing that
Mhm.
brings people to death the most in
Yes.
relation to a specific person or any other traumatic or stressful situation. It's that very thing.
It is. And, I emailed you and I thought, well, she's going to tell me I'm doing everything right. I was wrong.
I don't remember what I said.
You said, it sounded like I was trying, but I wasn't actually doing it like that. I was going to create a third party
Yeah,
because I was focusing on that, and
yeah,
that I needed to still do self-love because I was being needy, and that it's not attractive,
yeah,
and that I threw up all these platitudes and like, but I'm doing this and this is happening and this, and but I did this because of this. And you saw right through it. And you were like, Jaclyn, if you don't get a hold of yourself, you you were going to make this really bad. And I listened to your email so many times, because it hurt. It hurt, but I needed to hear that because I
yeah,
thought, well, I'm doing self-love, he should be coming back by now. No,
yeah, yeah,
no, nope. And I thought, well, he's on the dating site, and I found out about it, and you were like, there's not a third party yet, so don't focus on it, don't create it, like you don't have it there like other people have it.
yeah,
You don't even have it yet, like cut it off now.
yeah.
And I did not, it hurt a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, but I needed to hear it because I was still going down a bad path. I was almost like disillusioned
Yeah,
because I was like, I'm doing all this right. Why isn't it working yet? I'd
yeah,
only been doing it for 2 weeks. I didn't understand it.
yeah,
And then, you told me that, and it was a wake up call. And I thought, well, okay, I don't have anything to lose. The time's going to pass anyways. I want him back. I believe we belong together because it's so right when we're together. And I knew that once I got to be around him after I had kind of fixed myself, that he would feel my energy again and it would remind him. And our trip, there's, I'll focus a little bit since we got back together, or well, I say spending time together after his surgery. We spent that weekend together. He asked me to stay the night. Freaked me out because I thought, what? Like, I haven't seen you in 8 weeks and you want me to stay the night. Held me all night long, like just held on to me for dear life.
yeah,
Next day, took me to breakfast, and then I went home.
yeah,
The very next weekend, he was like, do you want to go to Denver? Hello. You have other friends that you can take
yeah,
to Denver. Why me? Took the trip. It was wonderful, but also on the way there, I was like, why isn't it happening yet? Why doesn't he want to hold my hand while we're driving? Why are we doing this? Like, why doesn't he want to kiss me? And,
yeah.
yes, yeah. It was so bad. Like, I started to rush it, and you
Yeah.
can't do that. You
No.
cannot rush it. And so then I realized I was rushing it, and I calmed down.
Yeah.
And it got better. The very next week on Wednesday, because we got home Sunday night, Wednesday was our 1-year anniversary. He took me on a date. I had manifested that because I thought about over the summer, I want to spend my 1-year anniversary with him. I don't want to spend it apart. And guess what I did? Maybe we weren't fully together when we did, but he took me on a date for our 1-year anniversary.
Beautiful.
And yes, oh, it was great. I looked back on that and I was like, you know what? Even though it wasn't like we were holding hands and kissing and having this great night, I was still on a date with him, making progress.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And then,
and Jaclyn, I think that's the important thing. Like you talking about going to Denver and why isn't he holding my hand in the car and why isn't he doing this? And then on the day, it's like you can be manifesting something and you're still looking at the glass half empty, which is such a human condition, which is what we do. But it's like you pulled yourself back from that and said, hang on, I'm making progress. I'm making progress. and to relax and slow it down, which I think is so important, because you do end up blowing it if you say something like, oh, well, why aren't you holding my hand, or why aren't you, and then the guy person's like, what, I've just taken you out on a date, or I've taken you to Denver, and you're focused on that. Like, I can see why people get exasperated.
Yeah, because they're like, what? Like, why are you like this? Like, what are you doing? Why are you not like, I'm making effort here, and that's the thing is, I learned to appreciate, even though his effort may have been small at the time, because we were taking steps to go back. You have to remember, it's not going to be like it was before. You're starting new. And that they, even though it's small, they're still making effort, because they don't know all the imaginal work you've done behind the scenes. But for him to ask me on a trip, to be locked in a car 10 hours one way, staying in a hotel over the weekend, and then going back home, another 10 hours in the car, that's a big deal to him. I hadn't seen him in 8 weeks. And yes, we reconnected and it was great. But that effort from him was huge at that time. And I learned to be grateful for that. Like, be grateful in that moment for the effort that he's expending, because that was a lot to go from not speaking and he's having to eat his words a little bit. And especially when you're getting back with another person, they are, especially if they've said things in the breakup such as, I'm not in love with you any longer. I want you out of my life. And they're having to have growth within them that you don't see, and they're not going to tell you about their growth. Like, about yours, but they're not going to tell you. So, for him to be like, I don't love you anymore, I don't want you in my life, to come on a road trip with me. Let me pay for things, and let's go on a date while we're there. And, that's a lot for him, because he knows, I just told this woman 8 weeks ago I didn't want to be with her anymore, and now I'm taking her on the trip.
Exactly. And like you said, he's had to eat his words a bit. Exactly. So you've got to take that into account. Yeah, beautiful. I am just blown away at the insight. Yes, the self-love, to the insight of where it came from, going back to 16 years old, dismantling that mentally, and then projecting the new thing onto your specific person rather than the old stuff, and then it having an impact on the relationship. I just think that whole succession of, it's like you jump through certain hoops unintentionally. You just thought, I've got to work on me because I've lost everything now. I've got to work on me. But the end result is just so wonderful. And the fact that you're taking a road trip today, I mean, that's the thing. Just because you're with a specific person doesn't mean your life stops.
Nope.
I mean, that's why I do what I do, is because I've got my specific person, but this is what's important to me, is this stuff about self-love is so important to me, because it changed the whole basis of who I am. And there's so many people that don't know that are suffering unnecessarily because of it, that to me is so important, that, that's my thing. It's got nothing to do with him. It's my thing. And you've got your thing you're doing today. And it's about continuing whatever your thing is, so that you are a wonderful person in relationship, because you've nurtured and taken care of you and the things that are important to you. That's what makes you a good partner.
Yes. You have to want to do things by yourself, because granted, I love him. I will love him until the end of time. But, and as good as we get along and as much fun as we have on our adventures, as we call them, I love to do things by myself. And I know that it's attractive to him, knowing I am taking a solo road trip 3 hours from home. I'm going to one of my favorite places. It makes him happy knowing that I am so excited in the car that I'm singing my lungs out, and I can't wait to get there. And it makes him happy knowing that he's busy doing this, he is free to concentrate on what he's doing today without fretting that I am pouting because I'm not with him.
Exactly.
Like, that's not attractive. I mean, that guilt tripping is so unattractive, and it's just not good. Like, you can't go down that road, because it may, you know, there are times where if someone is rude to you, none of this is ever saying that you should be a doormat for another person.
Yeah.
But that's part of the self-love, is if, you know what, you're being kind of a butt, I'm going to do my own thing. I don't care. Fine. Go be by yourself. That's fine, because I'm still going to have a good time regardless of what you're doing.
Exactly.
And then that energy attracts them back into your life, because you don't care.
Yeah.
You don't care.
It's so true. It's so true.
It is.
And when you're nurturing your own thing, doing a creative thing or whatever it is, that you go out and then you come back, you've got this fresh energy to put into the relationship again, because you've nurtured your own self. And that's how you keep a good relationship alive, is doing that stuff for you. And then it just feeds. And, you know, my partner will say to me sometimes, you know, I just love seeing you when you're just enjoying yourself. And I think that to me tells me that I'm remembering to do what's important, which is enjoying myself, whether he's at work or whether I'm in another country, because I do go and then I don't see him for 6 weeks. It's about me making sure I maintain my own sense of self-love every day. And whether
you have to,
you know, like, you never know what's going to happen in relationship. But if you maintain that, whether you're with someone or not with somebody, that is the foundation that everything is built on, is that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we wanted to spend time together, but it became unhealthy.
Yeah.
We were obsessed with each other, and it was not in an unhealthy way of like creepy, but we were obsessed with each other in the way that we didn't care what the rest of the world was doing. We just wanted to be together.
Yes.
We just wanted to be around each other because we had so much fun together. So it was almost like a drug, being around one another, because we got along so well. So we became addicted to one another. And if we didn't see each other, we were miserable. And that's not how, I mean, at first, you know, you're always like that in the beginning, but it continued. It was like that for the whole 9 months.
Yeah.
And so his friends were not happy. My friends were not happy.
Yeah.
And I became obsessed unhealthily, because it progressed. It wasn't healthy at all. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And so, you know, I actually had plans for tomorrow to go see my goddaughter and my niece. And she got a cold, so she's sick. And so her mom is like, no, like, I don't want you to get sick. And so my thought immediately was road trip time for Jaclyn. Like, I'm getting out of town. I'm going to do this for me. Because even though my plans were canceled, like, I sent him a message and I was like, oh, boo, I can't go see her, but I'm going to go over here instead. He was like, oh, I'm so excited for you. You know, like, he was sad that I didn't get to see my niece, but at the same time, that immediate switch to, even though these plans are canceled, I'm still going to do something for me.
Yep.
You don't let it slow you down. You still do something for yourself. Like, I could have just been at home pouting that he's doing his own thing today, and instead I'm on a road trip by myself.
And doing a video with me.
Yes. Yes. So, you know, like, a quick little thing, because people have asked me, like, how many times did you do the self-love? Honest to God, I don't remember. I did it until I felt better.
Yes.
And there's no magical formula. And just because you get the feeling better doesn't mean that it's going to last forever. You have to keep doing it, because I would have days of where I was like good, and then I started to kind of feel sad, and I was like, oh no. And I would do it again, and I would have to kind of climb back up that hill. And now, I mean, it's probably every other day for me. I don't do it necessarily every day, but it helps with my workplace. It's a high stress job. It's the end of year. It helps with my family. It helps with money. And I manifested 3 large sums of money in 1 week.
Wow. Nice.
To help out with some bills that I had. And So it affects every part of your life. Like you mentioned in another video about how the self-love, it affects everything. It's like once you start feeling good,
Yeah.
everything around you responds. It's not
That's right.
just one little piece, it's all of it.
Yeah.
It all comes together.
Yeah. And it's a
So
lifestyle. It's a daily
Mhm.
lifestyle. The self-love is, I'm no longer going to accept being in negative states and do nothing about it, because that's the
Mhm.
commitment that you make to yourself. My self-love means I'm committed to feeling as good as I can every day.
Mhm.
And you do that, and you do that, you get up tomorrow and you do it again, you get up the next day, you do it again, and then your life just gets better and better and better, because you're doing the internal work that then has to change the outside. And for me too, like I've been doing this 25 years. Have I had some shitful times? Yep. But doesn't matter. You just get back on and you keep doing certain things. And I think that's what that's what life is now for me, is I don't do it every single day either. But I know when I start going downhill emotionally, I go, whoop, okay, warning light, unplug, go and do some meditations, go and sleep, because that's often what pulls my pin if I don't get enough sleep, or
Mhm.
giving out too much to people. Like you say, I just need my sleep. So you attend to those things more quickly, and you don't let yourself go down to zero in an empty tank as much. You sort of, once it gets to a quarter tank, your warning light goes off and you go, okay, now I need to attend to it.
Mhm.
And that way you don't slide emotionally down as far as you used to. So yeah, and that's
Oh my
just,
gosh, you're so right. You're
yeah.
so right about
Mm.
getting to a quarter of a tank and having a warning light.
Yeah, you see the warning light better though, because before
Mhm.
you have to hit zero before you even saw it. Whereas now you kind of get below a half tank, you're heading to a quarter and you go, okay, I'm starting to feel not very good. I really need
Yep.
to sleep. I'm getting angry at nothing. People are bugging me just because the way they look in the street and in my way.
The way they breathe.
Yeah, exactly. And you think, okay, I've lost the plot now. I need to go.
the way they chew their food. You're like,
Exactly.
ugh, why are you eating that cracker that way? Like,
Yeah, I know. Just when you start noticing things like that, you go, okay, I really need to
Mhm.
go and do something, self-love, meditate, go and take some photos in nature, whatever it is. I need to go and do something for me. So,
And sometimes it's not an instant fix. It's not, and I know people want that instant gratification.
yeah,
But my growth had to happen when it did, and sometimes it is like that day that I'm telling you, it was 3 things all in one day. I just realized, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And since then, it's been a very fast ride. But there's other things that I grow about, like even last night, I got a little bummed. I had a moment where he wasn't messaging me.
yeah.
But then I was talking to my friend and I thought, you know what? His roommate got home from deployment. His brother is also staying there, and he has 3 friends in town, and another friend came over.
Yeah,
So my person, who is a lot like me, kind of like an ambivert, like we like to be around people, but we also like to be alone.
yeah.
He was overwhelmed, and he was still nauseated from the radiation. So even though it's been about a month since he quit, so I like processed this. Like I thought to myself, he's not feeling good.
Yeah,
That's why he's overwhelmed. Like it's
yeah,
fine. Like
yeah,
I realized that that's what it was. And then guess what? As soon as all the people like kind of left for the night, I got tons of messages.
yeah. Of
Like
course.
I got, I just waited.
Yeah,
And it's those little moments, like even though things are so great, and he calls me beautiful now, like he'll say good morning beautiful or good night beautiful, and I swear I nearly cry every time.
oh,
um but the Facebook stalking, I stopped that. don't
yeah,
don't
yeah,
don't do it. You'll find
yeah,
things you don't like. um and just letting go, like trusting the universe, just have faith that it's going to happen, and letting go of the handbrake, and letting go of the control, and letting go of trying to manipulate it to make it happen. Because if you're trying to manipulate something so that it happens in your favor, do you really want it anyway? Because then you've manipulated it. It's not happening organically. It's not happening on its own. It's
mm,
because you forced it. And who
yeah,
wants that? Who
exactly.
wants it forced?
Yeah,
It's not,
exactly.
it's so not healthy. And I mean, I still have hiccups. I still have days of where I have a little bit of doubt, but I get control of my thoughts really, really fast. And I realize that maybe that's a place I need to work.
Yeah.
And then I move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Hallelujah.
Sorry, I know I talk really fast and I'm like really excited about all of this.
Look, it's so good to hear your story live and to hear your thoughts and the way your head thought about everything. I just love it. I'm so rapt that you came on here and you stopped the car to do this with me.
Oh yeah, I was driving and I was like, I never got that link, and then I got your email and I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to stop.
I thought, oh, well, we'll just reschedule, you know, she's forgot something happened or we got the time wrong, or which does happen. So I just thought, oh, well. And then I thought, oh, I'll just do some emails while you're not on here. And then I saw your message saying, hey, can you send me the link again? I thought, oh, okay. So, yeah, it was meant to be. We do it today. And Jaclyn, thank you so much, because honestly, I'm gobsmacked. I'm speechless. This has been... you know what was great? Your story was so, just the way you relayed it, step by step by step. You so clearly remember all the components and all the mechanics of everything. And I think that's why this story of yours was so great, because it really makes it easy for people to get the inside of your head as to what you did. And now today, sharing those 3 things, which I know people are going to listen to this interview more than once, and they're going to go through and go, okay, well, what's my 16-year-old moment that's making me do this shit?
Because it is shit.
Yeah, it is shit. And Jaclyn, you had yours and you identified it, and then you went, right, he has never done any of that to me. And you totally separated the child in you from the adult in you. You separated them, and you didn't let the child still override everything, because that's what happens. The child overrides everything. And it destroys the present.
It does.
And you actually, I think that is the best example I've seen of dismantling an event that you knew was causing the present. I think that was such a fantastic example. So I'm so glad you shared that. I think that'll really help people identify their own stuff.
One last thing, you know how you talk about the rubbing out technique and how you had that coworker and you were just like, I think about that all the time. So I started doing that, and it's for that girl that has the feelings for him. Yeah. And then it was after kind of my realization moment of the female friend issue. And I started thinking, well, you know what? It's not healthy for her to be in love with a person that is clearly wanting to get back together with me because we were spending time together. And she has tried to put him, and his brother for that matter, in this role of boyfriend. Yeah. And they are not that for her. Like, the other one's going through a divorce, and then my person is with me. Yeah. So I thought, you know, I have to want this that's going to be for her greater good, like the betterment of her. And I visualized her getting a new job that was away from his house, because her job was 5 minutes away. And so she would stop by to see him and his brother all the time. And it was unhealthy because she was obsessed. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? It'd be really great if she could get another job somewhere else. And I envisioned her. And she'd been at this place for like 4 years. So the likelihood of this even happening is unbelievable. Yeah. 2 weeks later, I noticed, because I was being creepy. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at her page just to kind of see what she was up to, because she posts a lot of like attention getting stuff. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, God, I really want her to just get happy, because she's not genuinely happy. Like, she's always posting like dramatic stuff. Yeah. And I read one of the comments that says, "Did you get a new job?" And she said, "Yeah, I'll fill you in later." And I thought, what? And I don't talk to this girl. I'm telling you, I have no idea about what she's doing really in her life. I have no clue, because my person and I don't talk about her. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, I noticed that she had posted that she changed jobs. Wow. And it literally was within a month. And I have not mentioned this to my person, because he does not know that I know. Yeah. So, but she got a new job. And it is 45 minutes away from her home. Wow. And so 45 minutes away from him. Yeah. So, because she worked nights, previously, and she would get off work at like 1 and 2 in the morning, that's when she would stop by my person's house.
Yeah.
And now she does not do that because she
Wow.
works a normal job and she has to be up early and she works so far away that it's not 5 minutes. I'm telling you, she would make up an excuse to stop by and use their shower.
Yeah.
It was that intense. So like, I just visualized it being for her greater good. And the people she was dating, her relationships never worked out because they were kind of in a smaller town. She was dating the same people. And I thought, you know what? She needs somebody new.
Yeah.
She needs somebody in her life that is new and healthy and is good for her, because she does have insecurities.
Yeah.
And I've been focusing on that for her because I visualize her happy.
Yeah.
I visualize her letting go of her attachment to my person and his brother.
Yeah.
And I visualize her happy in her own life and her growing.
Yeah.
And that has changed how I feel about her entirely.
Wow.
Entirely.
And you did
because,
the rubbing out and seeing her in
mm-hmm.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And that's the thing. It's like you deleted it within you. So
Yes.
it had to change on the outside because you no longer had, she's encroaching on my person and his brother.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting involved in my life. I don't want her around. Problem. You refocused on a solution and then it took a turn and went that way. Wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
brilliant too. That's another little side dish to the main meal, isn't it?
Yeah, because when you are thinking negative thoughts about another person and about how they're affecting your life, like, you almost got to learn to love them.
Yeah.
You almost got to learn to send them love. And even if it's not like, oh, I want to be your best friend, because I don't necessarily want to be her best friend. I would like to really get along with her and it be healthy.
Yes.
And I want that. And I want that for my person, because him and her have been friends for so long. And I want that for me because I don't want to feel like there's someone else trying to step in the moment that I walk out the room.
Yes.
And I want her to be fulfilled, so she's not trying to cling to something unhealthy for her, because I've been there. I've chased after a man that did not want me.
Yeah.
And it's unhealthy, and it's obvious that she does it. And so I started loving her. I started sending her love and wanting the best for her, and her life is changing.
Wow.
And she got a new job, and I'm hoping she has a new man soon, because I mean, she's not a bad person.
Yeah.
At all. She just needs somebody who loves her for her, and my person is not that person, because she's made repeated advances toward him and he is like, no.
Yeah.
He shuts it down immediately, even before I came into the picture.
Yeah.
So, it's for her betterment. And so I just learned to love her and to love his friends, and send them love, because that bitterness, it's toxic. It's so toxic.
Isn't it? Brilliant. Wow, that's such a great use of the rubbing out technique, and like you said, you've got to change that, suspicion or feelings like someone's going to try and take something from you. You've got to transform it into love for it to dissipate. You do. Yeah.
You do, and I learned that from you.
Well, that's good. That's good. I've had plenty of practice in that area too.
I mean, I look at it this way. It's so easy to hate somebody.
Yeah.
It is so easy to be mad.
Yeah.
The negative is easy. It is hard to love somebody. It is so hard, but it's the best feeling when you do.
Yeah.
And it transforms you and the other person.
Yeah. And they don't even know it.
They have no idea. I want to be like, I got you a job, chick. I got you a job.
And now I'm going to get you a partner as well.
Yes, I know. Like, I have to be careful, because I almost want to ask him, hey, does she have a new boyfriend yet? But I'm not going to.
No, that's okay. That information will come to you easily with no effort as well.
Oh, I know. And then I'm going to email you and be like, it happened.
I'm sure it won't take more than a couple of weeks. By the end of the year, it'll be done.
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting for that. I'm so waiting for it, because, it'll be good for her. And my person, he finds it amusing, all of her relationship trials. And I'm like, that's kind of sad. Like, she loves you, and yet you are laughing at her drama.
Yeah.
Because it is drama, and it's all the time. And so I'm just like, this girl, she needs a better life.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people just haven't got the information that we have to be able to create that for themselves. They don't have it. They
don't. And it's hard watching people who don't really love themselves,
Yeah.
and they claim they are, but they're so obsessed with another person,
Yeah.
and they don't realize that it has to come from within.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And you never know when someone's going to learn that.
No, and it'll hit them out of nowhere. I thought I was like well on my way, but I feel like there was still something blocking me from him.
Yeah.
And I think I had emailed you and told you, it's these friends, they're blocking me. And you were like, Jaclyn, it's within you. Like, no, quit projecting that. And and it was within me.
Yeah.
It was from my childhood. And once I got rid of that, it's been just this amazing ride. And I have my boyfriend back, and it's great. We're planning things for next summer, which is really exciting. And we call our dog our kid, because he is a child. He's a mess. He gets into everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, your son, and then he'll, when I'm there, he'll be like, go to your mother, go annoy your mother. And then of course he runs over and I get attacked. But we take him on adventures, and he rides like on my center console, like right here in between me and him. And so like when we're driving, we have this massive Australian Shepherd like right in between us. And it's like, he said the other day, he's like, yeah, well, we're on a little family adventure today, our happy little family. And like I lost my dog a year ago. I had a golden retriever for 13 years, and she was my best friend. Like I took her everywhere. And so we joke about getting another one eventually, and how our dog Joker, how he needs a sister. And we talk about our family adventures with our dogs and all this stuff we want to go do. And it's lovely, because I don't feel like I'm pushing that planning on him, because I was for a while, because I would say, let's do this, and he would be like, oh, okay, maybe. Now he's like, okay, sounds good. And so it's like, it's okay to plan that now. But sometimes it is too soon. That's the not rushing part. And I didn't learn that right away. The growth happens when it's going to happen. You can't rush it. You cannot rush it. All you can do is love yourself through it.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. If you can remember self-love first, and everyone's you pushed out for all the stuff that's happening, if you can do those two things, you've got the whole thing worked out. Those are the two absolute pillars of all this stuff, is that.
They are you pushed out. And sometimes if they do something that makes you mad, like, it's okay if you get upset about something. I mean, it's okay to be like, you know what, you're kind of being rude right now. Like, I don't have to like what you're doing, but how I process it is the important part. Yeah. So there's been times where he's upset me, like he's blown me off, what I feel like is being blown off. Yeah. And I'm like, I can choose to be angry at him right now in this moment and pout and say something to him and blow up, or I can choose to be like, you know what you did isn't okay, but I love you anyway. And when there's an appropriate time to ask you why it happened calmly or sort it out, then we will, but I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm not going to blow up at you. And you have to understand, like, it's okay to be mad at them. Like, nobody's saying that, you have to be okay with everything they do because they're people. Exactly. And sometimes it hurts. Yeah. But it's how you internalize it. It's how you process it, and it's how you deal with it later. And I've also learned that from you. So
cool. That's great. Yeah, and it's ongoing in relationship stuff, isn't it? Like, you're going to have days where you're not feeling great, or you haven't slept well, or you had nightmares, or you bloody got caught in the rain and you got to work wet and then you got sick or whatever. And then it affects you, and then your vibe drops, and then that vibe drop then gets photocopied in sometimes in the relationship where you're just not having a perfect relationship day. But it's like, it's not the end of the world.
No, it's not. And that's something like I had to learn as well. A lot of people, I think they have this vision as they start to get their person back and it'll flow instantly. But I'm pretty sure I emailed you and Dan even after I was spending every other weekend with him for a while. What do I do when I'm here? Like, what do I do in this moment? Do I meditate while I'm sitting there next to him? How do I do this? Do I send him love while I'm sitting there looking at him? Like, what do I do? and you have to just let it happen. You have to evolve. You have to be yourself, and you do have to be calm, like, because they can feel it if you're kind of being cheeky, like being a jerk to them, and you're mad about something, and they can feel it, and they're like, why are you looking at me that way?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So, you have to be in that place of allowing and surrendering when you're with them, and letting it evolve organically. Because I'm telling you, I would sit there and I would look at him and I would be like, I love myself and I love you. And how do I tell you that I love you without telling you I love you?
Exactly.
And I was just petrified. I mean, I would just sit there. What do I do now that I'm here?
Yeah.
And it's never, ever that I have it, it's perfect right now.
No.
I have it and it's perfect. And you try to stress that so hard to your listeners, is like, hey, even once you get it, there may still be work you got to do. And there's still work I have to do every day.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful how it evolves. You learn, and you learn about them. You learn about them, and you learn how they respond to things. And that just because he has people over and he doesn't want to talk, that means, guess what? It's not against me. It's not personal.
No, he's
just overwhelmed.
Exactly. And it's remembering that not everything centers around us all the time. Oh, he's not ringing me, so there must be something wrong. No, like you said, you worked it through. He's got people over there. He's still, coming out of his surgery a month ago, so he's still got certain things, and he is over. So I'm just I'll just wait. So you talk yourself through it.
Yes, self-talk.
And that means you create a lot less drama and a lot less arguments when you do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't found you, I know people tell you this, and everything happens for a reason, and you attract people in your life. Like, I have all these LOA practicing people in my life now.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't found you, I don't believe I would have the growth I have now, because it was time in my life for me to find you, to learn how to do this, because I made that choice to do it different.
Yeah.
And then now I have all these people in my life, like people I even work with, that I had no idea they were followers of Hicks or Louise Hay. And
wow.
Yeah, like one of my best guy friends at work, him and his wife, they have been to Abraham Hicks like seminars. They listen to him. They meditate in the morning together. Had no idea.
Wow, nice.
And it's like, once you start doing it, your energy raises. You bring those people into your life. You start being able to manifest other things.
Yeah.
And you just get more confidence with everything. And so now my circle has changed. Yeah. And I have more positive people in my life. And I trust the universe so much with everything. And I look back at other events in my life and I'm like, that I created that. I did that. And that was something and I didn't even know at the time that I did it. I had no idea. So it really affects everything. Like you said, you bring everything into your life once you raise your vibration, and energy is very real. It's a living, breathing thing. Yeah. And people feel it. They feel it. They feel whether you're happy or not. They feel it. And you're just like, you walk over to someone and they're in a bad mood and you're like, ugh. Like, I'm going to walk away from you. Yeah. But you can feel it and you recognize that. And then you start learning how to project your energy onto others, and you can catch yourself before you get down that slippery slope.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's it. Oh, so good. So good. Jaclyn, thank you so much for today. That is just brilliant. Honestly.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to do this. This is like, you're like a celebrity to me, so this is great.
Well, you know what? If you check on, I'm going to upload it soon. I've got my interview with Radio Dan, because we do our radio thing once a month. Mm-hmm. So I'm about to go and do that in half an hour. So I'm going to eat, but I'll upload it afterwards. And I'm sure you'll have people wanting to ask you questions. So when you get time, stick your head in and see what people say. And I know they're going to love this interview and hearing from you. I just know they will, and it will be, it's just so great. I love it. See, this is the bit I love, because I do YouTubes on my own. So to be able to do stuff for me is great, to stretch myself beyond, because I'm like you. I love people, but I really love being alone. Yes. So having the balance between really good conversation, I realize why I love being alone. Because I don't like shitty conversations. I like
Oh yeah, that's
quality
true.
conversations. So having a conversation like this is definitely in that category. So
And I told you and Dan both. I sent my story to both of you, and because Dan had helped me too. Like whenever I was going through a few things, and like I'd email him or I'd comment on his YouTubes, and like I know you have so many followers, which is amazing because when I first started following you, you had about 3,000, and now you have over 7,000.
yeah,
So it's
wow.
unbelievable how much you've grown, and um, Dan helped too. So I shared my story with both of you because I mean, I was like taking whatever help I could get. Like you and
Yeah.
Dan, I subscribe to both of you. So every morning when you have new videos, I'm like, oh, yes, I got them. So I just, like both of you guys, the work you do matters. And I'm grateful for both of you because I am forever changed as a person
Yeah.
because of you guys. And so a lot of people, it's funny because they listen to both of you. And so, like, they'll comment and they'll mention Dan or you on each other's comments.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's funny. I'm like, oh, and so, like, the same person will comment on something else and they'll be like, oh, I saw your comment on
Yeah.
Agnes' video.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I mean, I think it's good having Dan because he's a male version. He gets a different perspective
Yes.
and it's good having that balance, so and I think he really loves this stuff as much as I do and he really is there to help people and yeah, we need not one person can satisfy everybody. We need more people doing this stuff to be able to, as things grow, to be able to answer things and be able to cater for things. And it's wonderful that there's more and more people that are like-minded and we're flocking to get to like our flock of people.
Yes. And people are noticing my success and, coworkers. I have one coworker,
Yeah.
her and her husband. She's like been support. She knew from day one that we would get back together because she's like, I believed you when you
Yeah.
told me you were meant to be, and I knew. She's like, your growth is amazing, and there were times I didn't see my growth, but
Yeah.
hearing it from other people, I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
have grown.
Yes.
And it
Yeah.
was really great to hear that. So like even from both of you, you guys are both great and you both have a little bit different perspective on a few things. And so
Yeah.
while sometimes it may not help one person, it's going to help someone else.
Exactly.
And I
Mm.
pulled from both of you. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like if Dan would have something and it would really make sense, but I was like, I don't understand that. And then it's so funny because it would be like within a day you would explain what Dan had just talked about, and I just was like, what are you two doing? Like you guys are chatting and like
Actually,
conspiring.
we don't actually chat that much apart from before we do a YouTube together because he's working, he's working two
Mm-hmm.
jobs plus doing his YouTube. So we only catch up once a month and we talk before we record. So that's about the only time. But
Well, you two
yeah,
are on the same wavelength.
yeah, it's funny how we just we're in sync, it's great. I love that. I love how that happens. It's wonderful.
It is, and yeah, I'm
Mm.
grateful for it. So thanks for everything today. I
Mm.
appreciate it.
My pleasure, and thank you for coming on and have a lovely day doing your adventure and taking photos. I love hearing that you're doing your own thing as well as, keeping your relationship in the forefront of your mind, but you still got yourself on board too. I think that's such a wonderful combination.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited. I'm doing what
Yeah.
I love and
Yeah.
back to singing in the car.
Yeah. All right, my lovely. I will can you send me the rampage of appreciation that you talked about? Because I know someone's going to ask,
Yeah.
and then I can whack that in the description. Anything that we talked about, the rubbing out technique and all that stuff, I'm going to re-listen to the whole thing and then I'll put in because I know people don't like having to go and look for stuff. Anything
Oh, yeah.
we talked
I
about.
also did the ahead in time, and then the I remember when, and the I remember when I cried my eyes out like every time
Yeah.
because that one is very powerful. And Dan
Yeah.
actually just talked about that one too. So those two as well, the ahead in time and the I remember when. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And you mentioned the surrender meditation,
Yes.
different things. So I will re-listen to the whole thing and then put everything down below because you gave a lot of good stuff in there. It's good.
Oh,
All right, my
I'm
lovely.
excited.
Thank you very much. Big hug. And yes, shoot me through an update whenever. I love, love good news. You know that.
Awesome. I will stay in touch. Thanks for everything.
Okay, Jaclyn. Bye-bye.
Bye.